Welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Gonna dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small,
Why, hey there. Welcome to this awesome episode all about how is technology going to change your life in 2023. I have an amazing guest and we're going to have really cool conversations about tech and what it looks like for 2023. But welcome to episode 227 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you as always for lending me your ears today. I know there are lots of choices out there and I do appreciate you making my potty one of them. If you are enjoying this podcast, I'd love you to take a screenshot and share it on your socials and tag me, because that would be super cool to get to follow your small business journey, just like you're following mine by listening to this podcast. All the show notes for this podcast, including any links that I might mention, can be found at all the W's, social media and marketing.com.au/227. Did you listen to last week's podcast? It was my post-pandemic, post-COVID podcast. I've been waiting a long time to title a podcast such as that, but it was really about the 5 lessons that I've seen or worked through with my clients or have learnt myself during the last 3 years, basically. It's definitely worth heading back and having a listen to that one, episode 226. It was a cracker. But of course, today's is going to be a cracker as well. Otherwise, let's get on to today's episode. I have a guest for you, like I said, and we are going to talk all about tech, particularly AI, so artificial intelligence, and how that's going to change your business life and perhaps even your personal life in 2023. That is, of course, if you actually embrace it. Tracy Sheehan, the digital guide, is certainly going to do her best to inspire you with her tech talk today. Tracy's on a mission to close the digital divide for small business owners and end technophobia for once and all. In fact, her book is called The End of Technophobia, which has won several book awards last year. And she was actually a guest on my podcast back on episode 149. Go back and have a listen to that one as well. Tracy, in recent weeks, has introduced me to ChatGPT, which has already changed my life. And no doubt we are going to dig into it on the podcast today, which I am stoked and super excited about. So anyway, that's enough from me. Come and continue listening to my conversation as I chat to Trace Sheehan, the digital guide, all about tech life and what it's going to look like in 2023. Trace, I'm excited to have you back on the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
So you were just saying 149 was the last time I was here.
Yeah, I don't even know how many weeks ago that is.
No, will you do what one? Let's not even.
Yeah.
I need the AI to calculate that for me, but that's probably later in the conversation, right?
Yeah, that's right. So today we are going to talk about how technology is going to change our life in 2023. And I am so with you that this is going to happen. But for my listener who may not have listened to episode 149 and may not have come across the digital guide, can you tell us a little bit about you and your business?
Sure. And I love that you said your listener. Like there's only one person in your entire audience.
There is, and I'm talking to them.
I love it. G'day, folks. My name is Tracy Sheehan. I'm known as the Digital Guide. I'm the author of The End of Technophobia, which was Australia's Business Book of the Year and Best Technology Book in 2021. These days, I'm a media commentator, so I've got a regular spot on Koshi's Business Builders. I'm an entrepreneurship facilitator with the federal government, and I write, talk, sleep, dream, live all things small business digital tools. And right now I am totally down the AI rabbit hole, geeking out completely.
So I feel that last year I really geeked out on the whole, NFTs and social coin and everything like that and the blockchain. And I really like that's still super relevant. But I think
Mhm.
your influence on me is going to make me really go deep into enormous tunnels around this AI technology, or not this AI technology. Like we're already using it. And I think, this
That's
is one of
exactly
the
right.
things that people have to sort of realize. They think about AI, which is artificial intelligence. It's not L, as sometimes I read it as L, capital A, small L, but it's a capital A, capital I. So it's not L we're talking about. It's artificial intelligence. But the simple fact is we're using it every day. Every time I pick up my phone, I am actually using it. But one of the things that I really wanted to talk about today was about how it's going to affect us in 2023. So you are the absolute expert. Tell me and tell my listener, what are you seeing at the moment? Like we're only at the end of January, we're 1 month in. What are you already seeing?
Yeah. Well, look, the big one, the big elephant in the room is ChatGPT. So that seems to be the one that's got everybody either one side of the fence or the other. So they're either hyper excited about it or there won't somebody think of the children. This is the end of civilization as we know it. So ChatGPT launched in November last year, so 2022. Within a week and a bit, it had over 1 million subscribers.
Whoa.
And here we are, January 23, and in the last week or so, I think the last 10 days, Microsoft have announced that they will be dropping another 10 billion into further development of ChatGPT 4, which will be the next iteration, which will be landing sometime this year, although then they're keeping that a pretty closely guarded secret. And I think the reason it has been the one that has really caught people's attention is because it's a native language processor. So what I mean by that is the first time that we've really been able to type into a computer and have a conversation. So go, hey, I need to write a blog aimed at small business owners over 40 to help them understand why they should be thinking ChatGPT is a good thing. And this thing will give you an outline, like, 30 seconds about all of the things that you should be talking about and why it's going to make a difference. It will remember the conversation. So then I can go back and go, hey, point 3 that you just said, can you expand on that? Or make the tone friendly, or as I was showing my hairdresser on the weekend who's in love with Yellowstone, write a social media post for a hairdresser in the tone of Yellowstone. So it wrote this thing, like Yellowstone. So it does have those capabilities. So for the first time, really, it's not robotic. We're not thinking in terms of just quick statements. We're actually able to have a conversation and tweak parameters and things as we're going. So I think that's been the game changer of that moment where people are going, holy Toledo, this thing is going to save me time, save me money, increase leads, make content easier. And I think that's what's got everyone on a bit of a buzz.
Yeah, certainly. The people that have a great PR strategy have definitely got this into the news. Even my husband, who is the worst person to ever try and market anything to, has even heard of ChatGPT and has been talking to my university student daughter about it and what it could do and what it can't do. So I guess in full disclosure, both Tracy and I are on team yes for ChatGPT at this point. I've been introduced to it by Tracy and I am actually in love with it at this stage. It's just blowing me out of the water what it can and can't do for a piece of artificial intelligence at the end of the day. So for those who might be listening, it's just like, okay, well, what is this thing? Can you tell me about it? So how do you get involved in ChatGPT? Let's start there.
Yeah. So if you Google open.ai, it's a website. It's nothing you need to download. It's not anything that you need to attach to anything. So it's just like opening Google or Facebook or any of the other websites that you probably go to, 1,000 times a week. So you just type in open.ai. It will take you to a website. You then register and sign up as you would for any other kind of platform. And then you will get a very bland looking page with a empty bar at the bottom and a blinking cursor. And you start there. So that's where you could say, I was chatting to my niece the other night who's just had a brand new baby, and she was like, I have half a dozen eggs, I think 5 rashers of bacon, some cheese and some tomatoes at home. What am I going to cook the kids for dinner? And I went, hang on a minute. So while we were chatting on Zoom, I threw into ChatGPT, I got half a dozen eggs, blah, 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 and it came up with like 5 recipes for her. So it can do anything from create recipes to write bedtime stories for your kids, social media posts, Excel formulas. I hate Excel, and I was able to get it to calculate something for me the other day. It can write code for your website. Basically the processes are kind of unlimited. It's just, what do you want to do and what are you prepared to have a play with and to think about what's going to be something that fills the biggest gap in your business right now.
Yeah, what are you really struggling with? So a couple of other really basic questions about this ChatGPT. Who owns it?
So the money behind it is Elon Musk. So some may think of him as, you may know him from former Bond villain with White Cat on lap stroking, and Sam Altman. Now, I didn't actually know who Sam Altman was, but if you follow the VC money circles, he has been around for a long, long time. I was just having a moment of what his money was behind. I want to say it was having a moment. I'm going to have to look it up. You're going to have to add that in because I'm having a real moment of what
it'll come to you.
I want to say it was like PayPal or something. I don't think it was PayPal, but it's like or Stripe was one of those.
Yeah.
The guy looks 15. I mean, it's crazy. Anyway, they are OpenAI, and they've been working on this as a research tool, and they closed it, as in it's a closed environment. So the data entry point is the end of 2021. So one of the limitations when we're talking about OpenAI or ChatGPT is that if you ask it a question post 2021, it will not have the data there. So you do still need to be fact checking and all of that kind of stuff when you're running questions and things through. And the reason they've done that is they're still building it and using it as a research tool. So they're getting it to crowdsource. So with over 1 million people in, a week, that's a lot of data going in of people. What are they asking? And then saving that history and building that into how do people talk to this thing? What does that look like? And the long-term aim is that it will eventually be connected to your search engines and things, so it will operate in real time. But it's read all of Wikipedia, it's read all of the kind of internet up until 2021. So it's able to give you answers, and they call it native language. So that just means it's like having a conversation like we are now. You don't have to be stunted. You don't have to do any of that. And it will respond to you in native language.
Yeah, right. Did you say earlier that Microsoft have thrown money at it though?
10 billion.
Yeah. Just chop change.
Well, I think Microsoft now see it as their first opportunity to really go head to head with Google.
Oh, I'm not sure if I think that's
a
great idea or not, but that's very interesting all the same.
You can't tell me that Google haven't been developing their own system in the background. Like we've seen Google Assistant and we've seen that type of thing coming through the traps. It's just Google haven't released it to the public. So when you think about how quickly Google can answer your questions in terms of, where's the best Thai restaurant near me, or, that type of information, and how Google Assistant can listen and interact with you, they've got this
Yes.
AI into their system as well. It's just they're not crowdsourcing and putting it out to the general public right now. So I think it's just Microsoft going, okay, this is the first time we're actually able to really go head to head. What does that look like?
Yeah, great. I like that. And the other question that I had that I know I've seen in a lot of groups and a lot of Q&As in the last 2 weeks or so, since pretty much it's a bit like a red car for me since I've discovered it. I'm seeing it everywhere.
Yep.
Is who owns the data that comes out of it? So if I get it to write me a blog, who owns that blog? Do we know the answer to that yet?
Look, my take on this is that I would not put anything into it that I wasn't prepared to put into Facebook or Google.
Yeah. Great
Okay?
advice.
It is keeping your data. It is because it's a research tool. They're very clear about that. So they are taking what you put in and absorbing that into the collective. So for my fellow Trekkies out there, think of it like the Borg. Resistance is futile. It is absorbing everything that you put in. So it is going to spit some of your phraseology or some of your responses back out if Jen asks the same question. So if you have something that is highly sensitive, it is not the place to put it.
Yeah.
But I also wouldn't be putting it into Facebook or Twitter or Google or any of those other places either.
Yeah. Great. I actually did, after a conversation that we had, I think I went to it. I don't have it up on my screen. I probably should have got up it on my screen, but I basically asked it to write a blog around why people should, still be using Facebook in 2023, or, is Facebook dead? It was around those, because a lot of people say that, Facebook's dead in the water. Facebook is not dead in the water, but that's a whole other podcast. But I asked it to do that for me. And then interestingly enough, I ran it through a program to look for plagiarism. And there was like one phrase, it was like 2.4% that it identified as possible plagiarism. So that really surprised me, because it is drawing information off other people's information, and yet it is clever enough. I'm not quite sure if clever is the right word, smart enough that it is rewriting it to the point where it's not considered somebody else's work.
Yeah, and I think that has a lot to do with the way that you phrase or pose the question to it in the first place.
Okay.
So the information could be the same. However, your audience is going to want it structured in a different way to mine, or to, John from Alabama that's, put the information in. So if you say to it, my audience is small business owners based in regional Australia. They're predominantly female, aged over 30. I want the tone to be friendly and informative. Then the way that it spits the answer out is going to be different to someone who puts in, my audience is corporate and I'm speaking to HR and senior executives. I want the tone to be formal and constructive.
Yeah.
So the way that it structures the responses are going to be quite different. So even though the guts, if you want to, take it like that, even though the guts of the information, the data is the same, the tonality, the phraseology, the way that it's structured and put together is going to be, quite different compared to how other people are looking. I just had a flashback, by the way, Sam Altman, Airbnb, Stripe, Reddit, Asana, Pinterest. So the guy's been a while.
And what does he look? 17. God bless him.
Oh, seriously, like Google him. He would, yeah.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
1985 he was born. I've got genes older than him.
Oh dear. If only we were blessed with such intelligence, or I don't know, gumption, not quite sure which way to push that one at all. Okay, so we've spoken a lot about the positives, and we will touch on other AI. It's just that this is such a hot topic at the moment, this ChatGPT. I really wanted to dig into this with you, but not everyone's happy. And there are certain people, and I've seen it in Facebook groups and, discussion groups and that sort of thing, that people just like pretty much with every other piece of AI that comes out, it's going to take our jobs. It's not good for us. We, shouldn't do this, should do that. So not everything out there is positive about it, according to some people. But what's your thoughts? Is it going to, like my job, for instance, my job as a marketing person, or someone's job that actually writes blogs for other people, like a copywriter or something, is it going to take their jobs, in just your opinion?
No.
I love just a flat out answer. No.
No.
Then
Right
why?
now,
Why do you say no? What's your point?
Well, right now, as we speak in January 2023, ChatGPT is not a critical thinker.
Yep.
It spits data and it uses natural language to share the data. But essentially, it thinks it's a toaster. It doesn't actually know what it is. So where you add value, where I add value, where copywriters add value is in that critical thinking, is in being able to really dig in, know the audience, know the pain points, know the emotion, know the stories, know everything that actually connects you with the audience. So I don't believe, and it's my personal opinion, that this platform or AI as it stands right now will take jobs. What I do believe, though, is that it's the people who take the time to learn how to manipulate these new tools that will take the jobs.
Yeah, and that's a really important distinction. People might still lose their jobs, but it's going to be from a person that has embraced, innovated, I guess, you followed the trends, learnt the language or learnt the tech, as opposed to someone who has hidden under the covers and gone, this isn't good for me.
Yeah. I mean, every time I hear it, I'm of an age where everything is a pop culture reference to me. So every time I hear it's taking our jobs, I just have flashbacks to the Simpson episodes with Reverend Lovejoy's wife of Won't Somebody Think of the Children? There's always someone losing their mind about it's this thing. So I was having a chat with someone the other day, a friend of mine the other day, and he launched a digital camera at the Australian Open back in 95. And journalists were up in arms then that was going to take their job because, well, where was the role of the photographer? In fact, what happened was it just made sending and sharing the data so much quicker that it led to what we now know as the 24/7 news cycle. So it's not going to, is it going to transform the way we work? 100%. I think so. For me, it's already transformed the way I'm working. I think now you're starting to play your kind of going, I see the possibilities here. So I do think it will change the way that particularly small businesses and entrepreneurs operate. It's not going to be the death of jobs. However, if you are smart enough to learn how to manipulate and use the tools, then I could absolutely see how ChatGPT, as an example, could replace a data operator, like a data entry researcher or, those kind of repetitive style administrative tasks.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. Moving on, because it's not the only piece of AI that's out there, and I know that both you and I have signed up to many a newsletter that basically once a day comes out and tells us all sorts of things that have just been launched or are on their way to launch or are in beta or beta. I don't know.
Yep.
My daughter
Beta.
My daughter corrects me whenever I try and say that word. It's a bit like meme and mem. I don't know. Anyway.
GIF. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So what else are you seeing? Like, what else have you seen, in the past or, sort of coming up that could also change what 2023 could look like as a small business owner?
Well, I think the first thing before we even talk about what's the new stuff, the first thing is to recognize the likelihood is you're already using and embracing AI.
Yeah.
So as you said, every time you jump on Google, you're embracing AI. So don't Don't, then go all Helen Lovejoy on people because you're already using it. If you're using Crisp, which is, the microphone plugin that you can connect with Zoom to mute any background noises that are going on and clean up your audio, that's AI. If you've ever used Grammarly, that's AI. If you've ever used Quillbot, that's AI. There's so many platforms that we've already used that it's almost like AI has become synonymous with ChatGPT. And I just want to make that distinction that it's not.
Yeah.
And we are already using so many AI tools that ChatGPT is just the next iteration of what's going on and the next evolution that we're seeing coming through. So
I think it's the next popular thing. It's a bit like PR strategy has worked well for this. We're all talking about it, but there's
100%.
other tools out there that are exactly
100%.
the same or very similar that we've never heard of.
Yeah, 100%. So, well, interesting. I think the thing is, like a lot of the other, Jasper is a really popular one for copywriters, right? Been around for ages. The interesting thing, though, Jasper uses ChatGPT. So ChatGPT, this open source, has been the thing that has plugged into a lot of the other, particularly copywriting tools that have been around for the last couple of years. So they form the basis of then what is skinned as Jasper or any of the others that we've seen come through. So it's just that OpenAI has kind of stepped out like the Wizard of Oz. It's kind of stepped out from behind the curtain now and gone, hey, and you can access it for free right now, whereas you've got to pay reasonable amounts of dollars for Jasper and the likes to access the same information. So at the heart of most of the copywriting tools that we see, ChatGPT is the brain of most of them.
Yep.
Interesting, I was only looking at Canva the other day, like Canva's released an image to text. So they're starting to really play in the AI space where you can write in a description of what you want the image to be, and Canva will then create the image for you. Do you want it as a drawing? Do you want it as a photo? Do you want it as an abstract? What do you want it as? Now, it is rudimentary and it is really average right now, but it's just showing all of the other platforms that are going, okay, it's just another confirmation for me that 2023 is the year that we all need to level up, right? Canva's going, all right, I got to get on this bandwagon because this is stuff going on. I get this one wrong all the time. Synesthesia is another great one that I'm enjoying having a play with. It's a video tool. And what it does, it has little AI avatars that you can choose male, female, old, young, ethnicity, accent, language, and then you write some quick text and it will, within seconds, create a video for you.
How do you spell that?
SY something, something, something seizure. Hang on, I will tell you. Let me just open it up. SYNTHESIA, synesthesia. Now you can have a play with it for free, and then it's like $30 a month. So most of them, what I like that they've figured out is the freemium model works. So they'll get you in, they'll let you have a bit of a play, and then they go, okay, $30 a month, and you can do, 10 videos, 120 languages, 65 odd avatars, templates built in, background music, all of this kind of stuff. Now, we created a Synesthesia 60-second video to promote a webinar that we did last week about AI, and it took me 5 minutes to create. Like, they are getting really easy to understand, how to use, how to manipulate, how to play with. So that's a big one that I'm excited about. I'm also really liking, let me open up Pictory, which is another video one. What it does is allows you to pull, say, a YouTube link and dump it in, and then Pictory will give you the full transcript, which you can then go through and either say, highlight the keywords, which it will do, highlight the key messages, and then we'll break the video up into shorter videos for you. So I do a lot of like 1 hour instructional webinars, and I was going through a perfect one. I do a 30-minute monthly top 10 tech tips. Like, these are the cool things I found this month. really quickly, I can now break that down into 10 really short videos that I can use for social media. So that's a really cool one that I've been playing with. Quillbot, which I think I introduced you to a couple of weeks ago, that's another cool one. So that will rephrase, co-write, change the style of any content you're writing. So I'm really liking that one. Super Creator, actually Pencil is another one to keep an eye on. Try Pencil. Now, it's one I've been following for a few years, but it's not been priced at small business level before this. What Pencil is it's a social media or an ad pay-per-click ad generating tool that essentially is performing 2 times better than you trying to create your own ads at 10 times less the cost. Now, I started following this a few years ago when I was reading about Saatchi & Saatchi and a few of the big agencies starting to use this. And now they've released it as priced at a formula that, small business owners can use. So that's about $99 a month, obviously all American dollars, folks. So just bear that in mind. But you can create, and it will just resize and do everything. It does all the split testing for you. It does it. So that thing, I was just like, all right, I need to be having to play with this. So try Pencil if you run any pay-per-click is definitely one to keep an eye on. Copy Monkey. So for those who run e-commerce sites or have an Amazon listing, Copy Monkey is an interesting one because it will create your Amazon listing for you based around keywords and things that it knows is going to help you rank on the first page.
I have no idea what our affiliation is with primates. Like there's MailChimp and
I know, right?
It's like, come on, people, like Survey Monkeys, like find another animal.
I know. Can we just, I don't know, adopt a giraffe or something perhaps?
Yeah, that's right. That's when I invent mine, I'll have a giraffe. Yes, definitely.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Pleasure.
Quick Chat is one that you can use to create chatbots that just plug into your website. So again, it uses ChatGPT at the heart of creating that natural language, that conversation. But it's an easy plug-in that plugs into your website. So you can now have a chatbot on your website. What else am I saying? I'm just trying to think. I'm flicking through a few to give you a bit of an idea. Illustroke I was playing with on the weekend. I really like that. It creates vector images from text prompts. So I use vector images, and you probably do too when you're doing presentations. Obviously, sometimes, in a framework and things, you need a vector. So this one will create a vector based on what you type into it. Podcastle is a studio quality recording system just from the computer. Clean Voice is one that you can edit audio and podcast episodes. What else have we got?
Oh, there's a billion of them.
There's lots of them.
Yes.
It's the end result of that.
And I suppose that brings up the question of where does it stop, and what sort of things should we be looking out for? Like, we're a small business owner, we only have a certain budget to spend on these things. So with all the options out there, how do we decide? And I guess what's some things that we like, I don't know, almost traps or things to look out for when we are going down this AI rabbit hole?
So 2 things. One, on the where do you start? Start with ChatGPT. I think it's a really good place to just get your training wheels and just start to figure out what this thing can do. So take it out for a walk, have a bit of a play with it, and, everything from creating a recipe to coming up with a workout routine, what foods are high in protein, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, writing your social media posts, creating Excel formulas, creating code for your website, like just have a play with it. That's a great place to start, because what that's going to get you to do is start the critical thinking process.
Yes, love that.
Of, okay, what do I really need? So if you sit down in front of it and go, write me a social media post, what's it going to know to write on? So immediately you've got to go, oh, okay, I run an e-commerce business selling women's accessories, predominantly jewelry. You know, I use natural gemstones and I'm sustainable fabrics. Write me a social media post. So then it will start to write you a social media post. You read it and you go, doesn't really sound like something I write. So now you refine it. Okay, my audience is typically women in Australia that are over 40, they're time poor. Make it sound like Sarah Jessica Parker from Sex and the City. So now it's going to rewrite it in that kind of tone for you. So now you can look at it again and go, okay, what would be 5 good hashtags I can use with that? So it's going to give you a list of 5 good. So it's going to force you to keep kind of thinking and refining and tweaking and testing. So that's going to build your muscle to then start looking and playing with other AI tools. Yeah. But the same thing, the next step is the same thing I do with any of my clients when it comes to any digital tool, AI or not. What's the big pain point in your business?
Yeah.
What is it? If you could solve that one thing that would give you back time, that would, you know, what is it? So is it that you hate editing the videos that have to go on your YouTube channel? Okay, go have a play with Synesia or Pictory, or find a video editing AI tool. Play with that one next. If it's around, I don't know, getting Excel formulas to work properly, then go and have a look at Sheep God. You know, but find that one thing that's going to plug a gap for you. And do that, because otherwise, and this is my job, not yours, otherwise you're going to bounce from shiny thing to shiny thing.
Yes.
And not earn any money, save any time, do anything, but you're going to probably either get really, really frustrated or have a lot of fun. It's either going to fall on one side of those coins. And that's my job. That's what I do. So then I can come back and go, hey, Jen, I just found 5 really cool tools you need to tell your folks about. And that's where you can then kind of look through those 5 that I've found and go, oh, that one sounds cool. I'm going to try that next.
Yeah. Great. Is there any, let me get my words around this question. Do you ever feel like your data is in trouble? You know, could anyone, like, obviously these people who are making these AI, possibly it's the first thing they've made or the first thing that has gone public for them or something. So somewhat, I know that ChatGPT is a little bit different, but somewhat a lot of these ones are unknown people to us. So as far as cybersecurity goes and that sort of thing, do you ever have that fear, or is it just going back to what you were saying before? You know, if you're prepared to put it into Facebook and Google, you could put it into one of these.
100%. My theory on this is if a product is free, you're the product.
Yeah. Oh my God. I think that needs to be on t-shirts that we wear. That is just, and people forget that so very quickly. Mm-hmm.
So the moment that you know, look, we're not going to read the terms and conditions. We're just not. We're not, well, I'm not, you know. Actually, there's a new AI tool that I was looking at the other day, and I can't remember the name of it, that does that for you. And then I think it was called Red Flag, and highlights the things that you probably should be aware of. But here's the thing. If you don't tick the I accept the terms and conditions, you can't use the damn platform anyway.
Yeah.
So, right? So if you are trying something for free, don't put your most sensitive data into it. If it's something that you don't want to potentially have show up somewhere else, just don't do it.
Yeah.
But we live in that world now where
we do,
you know, Medibank's getting hacked, Optus is getting hacked, the government's getting hacked. Our data is going to end up somewhere. Mm-hmm. So the best you can do is follow the, you know, have your 2-factor on, just play some common sense.
Yeah.
I typically, to be honest, will not sign up for a company that is brand new. Yep. If it's like a CRM, for example, I wouldn't go and buy a CRM from a brand new company, because I don't want to go and spend hundreds of hours setting a CRM up to find that the thing falls flat in its face in 6 months' time because it doesn't have the VC behind it. Yeah. I'll sit and watch it for 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, watch its patterns before I decide to give it a crack. But if it's something like I want to play with the video editing tool, then, you know, I kind of weigh up the risks.
Yeah.
What's the worst that's going to happen? My image is out there now, right? But again, on the webinar last week, I was chatting to one of the panelists and he was saying, I'm ready to get Synesia to create myself as an avatar so I can generate videos easier. Now, my spidey senses go off at that point because it's that point that I go, who owns your likeness?
Yeah.
Do I want to end up potentially selling Tupperware online in Namibia? Because that could happen, right? So it's that point that I go, hang on a minute, am I ready to go all into that level?
Yeah.
And I'm not.
Yeah.
Am I good to chuck in a YouTube URL that I can restrict a 30-minute webinar to 10, 30-second videos that I can put on social media so I don't have to pay a video editor or spend 6 hours trying to figure that out myself? Yes. That trade-off I'm good with. So I think and that gets back to the critical thinking, right? It's just sitting back and kind of going, hang on a minute. You know, if this ended up with me promoting a gym in Namibia, Azerbaijan, would I be okay with that? You know, if I ended up being seen to flog, I don't know, incontinence diapers in Sydney, would I be okay with that?
Yeah.
So that's just the sanity check I come back with.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's a really good piece of advice for people, you know, like I would always say, you know, with marketing, for what purpose? And it's a very similar question. It's just like, worst case scenario, would I be okay with that? And
but if
no
it's
sense
free, you're the product.
Yeah.
End of the day, if it's free, you're the product. So you just got to be prepared that that's the trade-off. If you're okay with that, have at it.
Yeah. Beautiful. Remembering, of course, for my listener, that Facebook and Instagram are free. So
and there we go. And you are the product, right? Go back to Cambridge Analytica.
Yep. And they have a lot of sensitive information on there for sure, more than any AI program will probably ever have on you. Absolutely. Although they are AI themselves. So
absolutely. Why did they change their name to the metaverse?
Yeah.
Because that's what they know. The future is data. The future is AI. They know that. Yeah. I was listening to a podcast out of the States from an FBI cybersecurity expert that was saying 5 pieces of data and he can track you to within, I think he said like 100 meters of wherever you are in the world at that time.
Oh, see, that's scary.
5 pieces of data. Yeah. Think about all of the photos you've uploaded to Facebook over the years. Think about all of the birthdays you've said, you know, you've talked about. Think of all of I've checked in at this restaurant. I like this cafe. I drink this sort of coffee. They have everything they already need. Yeah. Which is why Cambridge Analytica was another conversation.
Yeah, that's right. And hopefully they've learned to behave themselves since Cambridge Analytica, which, you know, they definitely got hauled over some sort of lukewarm water for. But anyway, I'm going to ignore the shaking of your head because I think
we totally respect everything that Metaverse and Mark Zuckerberg have to say as our galactic overlords, along with the Google gods.
With the Amazon gods just thrown in for good measure, for sure.
Jeff Bezos would not do us wrong.
No, heck no. Anyway, this has been such a great conversation. I'm sure that my listener is kind of either very perplexed, very excited, or perhaps a little bit of both.
Which, and that's a good place. A little bit of both is a great place, because that healthy skepticism is the place to approach this from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was Peter Drucker said, you know, in his book many years ago, there's 2 things in business: marketing and innovation. The rest is just stuff. This is the innovation part. 2023 is the innovation start that we perhaps, the nudge, maybe not the start, the nudge so many of us needed. And I guess, you know, like on episode 149 and on this episode, AI isn't scary. We're already using it. You are using it every single day. Possibly if you pick up your phone and, you know, it's got facial recognition, you've already used it. You probably aren't even out of bed before you've used AI.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But this has been so good. Thank you so much for bringing your A game, your amazing knowledge. You always blow me out of the water with everything that you keep in your brain. It's extraordinary. For my listener who might like to get in contact or to join your list to, find out what they should and shouldn't be doing and all of that, where's the best place for them to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so you can check me out on the website, thedigitalguide.au or .com.au, wherever you want to go. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, so just Google The Digital Guide. I do have a big What's On page because I run a bunch of free events every month online, and obviously doing a lot around the AI space right now. So if you're nervous, if you're having fun, if you have no idea where to start there. Come and join us for one of the webinars and have a bit of fun and let me know how you're going.
Yeah, because you've got a couple coming up very shortly, haven't you? So
I do. And I'm just going to keep running them throughout the next few months because I think as things keep innovating, there's always the early adopters, the ones that were online I have to say it was my birthday, the day that OpenAI kind of came out to the world. So, there are those of us who sit online at 12:01 going, this thing's live, let's go. And there are those of us who join 3 months later when they've started to hear about it, 6 months later, 12 months later. And that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Wherever you are right now is exactly where you need to be.
Yeah.
The point is you've heard about it now. Whether or not you want to use it is up to you. Here's the thing, though. If you want to stay in business, you at least need to know what this stuff is. Then you can make an educated decision as to whether or not you want to play in the space.
Yeah, great. I love that. Yep. Great sound advice for sure. Thank you incredibly much for joining me today. I know it's been a bit of a longer episode, but just so worth it. You're amazing. Thank you. I can't wait to have you back again to chat about the next huge thing that is disrupting our social media feeds at some stage.
I know. It's awesome. Let's do it again. Love it.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you so much. See you.
See you guys.
Did you enjoy that chat? I really hope you do. I would love to ask you, what are you, after listening, going to go and do? Or what are you going to try? Or what are you going to research? Is ChatGPT, GPT, I should say, bringing out my economics of GDP, ChatGPT, is that something you're going to try in your business at all? Will you give it a go? Why it's still free? Or it is at the time of recording this. Anyway, let me know. You can head into the Facebook group, Like-Minded Business Owners. Love to hear from you then. If you loved this episode though, can I ask a really small favor? Could you take like 30 to 60 seconds out of your day and leave me a rating and review for this particular podcast? One of my goals this year is to reach more people with this podcast, and you can help me achieve that by leaving a review if where you are listening allows you to do that. Thank you so much in advance for doing that for me. Otherwise, I'll see you next week on the podcast for episode 228. I have a great episode coming up for 228, which is actually a little bit different next week's episode because it's about what I want to do differently in 2023. I want to share with you 6 things that I want to do differently, or really there's going to be more than 6, let's face it, I'm an overachiever. But I just want to share those with you in this safe space as my podcast, and hopefully maybe inspire you to do a few things differently in 2023 as well. Anyway, that's all for episode 227. I will see you next week on episode 228. But in the meantime, if we're not social on social, let's get social on social. You'll find me on Instagram, Facebook, and of course, LinkedIn. But whatever you do, remember my small business peep. As my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
No time like the present. Tell it like you feel it, say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Yorta Yorta people, on which I record this podcast and conduct my business today, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I extend this respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today as well.